Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of KickSaga. This is the interview series where I talk to first-time publishers or self-publishers of board games who are looking to take their project to crowdfunding for the first time. And we're going to learn from them before they launch to see what they've done to prepare. And then we're going to have a second interview with them after their process is over to see, what lessons they've learned and what they would do differently or what they would do the same, in hopes to help other game designers who are planning on self-publishing to see what's involved in the process, and also for just you guys who are fans of board games to see kind of what goes in behind the scenes to making your favorite games possible. So today I'm really excited to have Brad Hiscock on. He's going to talk about the game he's created called Feuds Favors that is kickstarting here tomorrow, I believe. So welcome, Brad. How you doing?
Hey, great to be here. I'm doing fantastic.
Cool. How's it feel getting ready to launch your first game on Kickstarter here in a day?
I think it's a decent mix of excitement and nerves, which I assume is pretty normal at that point.
I can imagine. Yeah. Well, hopefully all the hard work that you've put in beforehand pays off. For folks watching, you'll notice that Brad is a still image right now, and that's just because he was kind enough to take some time out of his workday to kind of chat with us, and so he's not able to be on camera, but we're making do with what we got, and it's still going to be a great interview. Also, I wanted to mention that I did have a chance to play test Feuds Favors. Had an awesome time. It's a great kind of medieval battling card game with cool combo abilities. Very quick to play, very quick to understand, but a lot of crunchy decisions. And so I had a lot of fun playing that with you, Brad. So congrats on a great design.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So why don't you get us kicked off with some information about the game and about you in general? So like what compelled you to create Feuds Favors, and what about your background kind of led you to this point?
I've always had, I guess, a bit of a creative side. It's not always been in the board game. Sometimes it was, in writing or music and those kind of avenues. But the desire to create has always been a large part of my life. So pair that with my love of the hobby, and that's kind of how we ended up here.
Nice, very straightforward. So, do you make music, or are you a fellow musician, or you just enjoy experiencing it?
Oh, all kinds. So
Yeah,
I do absolutely love music. It's in all forms. I love to create it. I love to
very cool.
replicate it or listen to it at all times. It's a constant everyday thing for me. I don't know how I would survive without it, but I do play some instruments and sing and stuff as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, as someone who's making a game about musicians as well, talking with other board game creators, I do see a lot of them tend to be creative and involved in music in some form as well. So that's cool to see that you have that common thread also.
Yeah, I can see that being a popular thing, and I mean, music is a big part of a lot of people's lives, but the creative aspect of it, I can see transitioning well through a design phase.
A lot of commonality. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about the game. What's it about, and what kind of mechanics are involved, and how does it play?
Okay, so the quick information is it's a 2 to 4 player game. It runs for about 30 to 60 minutes, and it's for ages 8 and up. Um, and the game itself has a bit of a take that mechanics and a race for victory points. The game will have elements of hand sculpting and a little bit of timing, which would certainly come in place with stacking abilities. But overall, it's a interaction between the opposing forces.
Yeah, it's a cool dynamic where you're trying to um, try to guess what the other players have in their hand, and try to one up them, or try to prepare for like a contingency plan if they play something extra powerful, and trying to uh, win your way in other ways or try to one up them as far as the combos are concerned. And then what I really like about the game is there's always kind of a consolation prize if you don't win that particular round. You're able to kind of bolster yourself up with some I forget what they were called, the little scarf cards.
The favors.
The favors.
Yeah,
You're
so
able
you
to get
you
some extra favors.
you garnish some favors,
Garnish
and
some favors.
it-
Absolutely.
the thematically, it's to try to earn yourself some favor with the noble class, so that they would, leverage those favors and cash in on some aid from them, and they have powerful, unique abilities that would help sway a fight. Um, but
Makes
the,
sense.
the whole aspect of kind of guessing and wondering what's going to come at you and how you can, fortify yourself in the best way possible. I tried to make that as true to, a physical war as you would get back in those days. That you have a pretty good understanding of what you can physically see on the board, but then there's always those hidden elements and hidden tactics that your opponent can come at you with.
Yeah, that makes for a great card game. So first question, why are you, or not first question, but next question is why are you putting yourself through the stress of kickstarting this game on your own? Did you think about, pitching to a publisher at first, or have you always kind of been on the path of self-publishing?
No, originally I was going to hand it over to a established publishing firm. Um, if I'm being fully honest about that, I had tried to put that forward several years ago when it was only a concept, really, and it wasn't at all in the finished form that it is now. So at the point, I can totally understand. I had interest in it, but nobody really took it fully and said, "Yeah, we'll take that on."
Right.
Um, so at that point, I said, I do believe I got an idea here, but I got to really polish it up and make it into something. And once I had put, another few years into it and really dug deep, then I wasn't so much willing to hand it over to a publisher, because you do lose a lot of control of the project at that point.
Right.
Um, but originally I wasn't going to put all of that effort in on my side of it. And once I did, it was kind of my own thing.
There's something about the satisfaction of of seeing the project all the way to completion and having your vision kind of realized at the very end, and you miss out on some of that with a publisher. But I've also seen that really great games don't get picked up by publishers just because it might not be a fit for their catalog or the timing might not be right. So even if you have a great game, um, it might not be able to get picked up by a publisher. So I always think self-publishing is a great option, either if you want to see it through to the end, or if you have a great game and you're just not able to get it picked up. There's always the option of self-publishing, and I think these days it's a lot easier than it's ever been to self-publish. It's not easy, but it's easier, I think, than it's ever been in the past.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. I think that the hobby itself and the community has grown so much in the last, say, decade, that
Yep.
it really allows for the room to kind of support each other and spread your own wings in a self-publishing manner. But backpedaling a little bit to the other style publishing, the traditional style, I think you're spot on there with the word catalog. Like, a lot of them have a specific game type that they're looking to come out. Like, 2023, we're going to come out with a dice based family game. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Very
and
specific.
usually, and
Yeah.
even if it's not, sometimes they don't take on certain projects, or they're completely overbooked. Like, a lot of the big publishers are
Mm,
booked for the next 4 or 5 years, so there's
right.
the time aspect as well. Um, yeah, so for that kind of a reason, that's where I think a lot of people are self-publishing, to be able to see that dream come and make it happen within a time frame as well.
Now, the art on your game is beautiful, very dynamic, very like feels like the action is happening as you're looking at the art on the card. Very detailed, great, great user interface and graphic design and stuff like that. So, talk a little bit about the journey of finding an illustrator and how you got the graphic design done and kind of that component of the game.
So we got super lucky in that regard. I did put a lot of footwork in at the very start. We found both of our designers, our main illustrator and our graphic designer, through the website Fiverr, but we had gone through literally hundreds of what they call gigs, which is like their
Yeah.
studios online,
Wow.
and we went through so many of those and checked out lots of things, and then ordered little small sketches off of people that we kind of narrowed it down, and then from those sketches we picked out like a top three, and then we ordered a full art version from them, and then when we got them back, then we're like, yep, these are the people. So our illustrator was Noman Afzal. He's done a few other projects as well, other board games, but he's definitely starting to be self-known himself.
Nice.
And the graphic designer was Pedro Zalba. He goes by Peter, but he's an up-and-coming graphic designer that we had a fantastic time with. He's very intuitive. He just made the whole process kind of come together. So we had a fantastic go with both of our um, individuals that we worked with for the art of the project, and that's pretty much all I can say there. That was one of our favorite things of the whole
Yeah.
project was this is what we're looking for, and then they kind of just went with it and came back with a beautiful product.
I love the idea of, asking a bunch of illustrators to send you like kind of concept sketches, because sometimes an illustrator has a particular style that you've seen, but they might be able to do another style, or you might like their style, but then they're not quite able to do what you're looking for, and to kind of test that out before actually paying, commissioning a full piece of art is, I think, a super smart thing to do. So that way you can compare those sketches and kind of see if it's going in the direction you want, and then go from there. And that's actually something I've taken a note on for my own games. So I'll be maybe taking that approach as well.
Yeah, I gotta say we were very successful in that regard. The pre planning there made a large difference on the back end of the project.
So what other have you worked with anybody else to bring this game to life? Anybody else in the background that's been helping you in different parts of the game?
Um, No, it was pretty much a lone wolf situation.
Nice.
But of course, I outsourced all the art. But yeah, we had a lot of help from the community in terms of feedback and play testing, and other designers kind of doing playtest swaps or just helping with different aspects. So we did have a large um, community of people that certainly came on board for little bits here and there, but there was
Hmm.
no main help in that field. We did have a local play group here that was like 2 to 4 people that really saw this most of the way through. That I guess we can certainly give them some credit for taking out all of the kinks of the project. We gave them a little shout out on the Kickstarter page as well, and one of them was my really close friend, and I mean that amount of help there certainly got us through to the end.
Nice. Okay, well, let's shift gears to kind of the marketing side of things. So, what have you done? Like, I guess, what are some of the first things you did to try to kind of spread the word about the game and get it known to people, and that kind of thing? And what was your thought process when you were kind of coming up with the plan to get it out there to the world?
I think that this was my largest area of room for improvement, I guess.
Mm,
Um, my main idea at the start of all of this was to build a huge local presence.
mm,
And of course, all the, you know, obvious pandemic restrictions, they
right.
completely put a pin in that idea. But my online presence is improving, but the online community kind of helped me get there by looking up how other designers were doing it, and on a board game design lab group on Facebook, they a full thousands of people there that really lended their hand to getting me to that platform. But most of my social media was set up just for this game. Like I wasn't really online
Right.
actively. I'm a very in person um, kind of fella. So that that area was definitely my biggest challenge.
So speaking of kind of social media, what types of things do you put on a social media page for a board game that is not released yet? Right, you're still working on it. What has been your approach to that?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So the biggest thing I would say to post is your process. One of the things that I had a lot of positive feedback on, and I've seen it a lot in other games and projects that are up and coming, to share your struggles as well. Like don't just say, "Hey, this is the finished product. This is excellent." Just be like, "Okay, this is the start of this. This is our playtesting. This is what we found from that playtest," and like keep sharing with your audience. How the game is improving over time makes a huge difference, and I think that it makes them more committed to you and the project itself. Sharing, even say you got a physical prototype finally after like a year and a half, but when you got it, you're like, oh man, this came out super bad. Like for example, in my game, the rule book looked fantastic, but the words in the rule book were way too small when they changed it from a PDF to a print. So that kind of thing, just be open with everybody, and I think that translates into the Kickstarter campaign itself. I find a lot of the campaigns that do well are very open and forward about what they're offering and how they're going about it. So if you can get people in on the ground floor for that early on in the project by setting up like a private group or things like that, I think that would positively benefit any project.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. I agree, and I like personally, I like following other people's games that are in development and learning about their process and learning about their struggles or their wins and just seeing things come together. That's super interesting. I like that for games. I like that for movies and for video games and for all the other kind of creative things that I like to do. I like to watch the process. That's super fun, and I think um, folks who are making a game shouldn't overlook that people would enjoy to see the process unfolding and see you making the thing, and they're more invested in it, right? And in the end they're more likely to support you because they feel like they've been a part of that process the whole time. But
Of course, and I think that the biggest part of that is how most people are very hard on themselves. So to let other people see those, not necessarily errors, but like you said, your wins or your losses sometimes, to let them see that, and I think it makes you more real as a person, and it's more connectable.
totally agree. Yeah, that's a great approach. So now kind of shifting gears again to the Kickstarter page itself. That's I find that's kind of a big, that's the hub where everyone is going to come to support your game. And so a lot of people, want to make sure that all the information is right and that they spend a lot of time on it. So kind of talk about the time you spent on the Kickstarter page and what pieces of it that you've been focusing on, and maybe some challenges you've had with that.
Absolutely. So, uh, yeah, I did the Kickstarter page myself. I was telling you there pre interview that I had about 3 weeks of all nighters, and that's mostly what it's been.
That's
Um,
crazy.
I really had to find a way to get everything there in a way that looked as good as other Kickstarter pages, because of course some people are just absolutely amazing at what they can punch out, but I myself am not a graphic designer or uh, someone that makes films. So I think the biggest stress for me was the Kickstarter video, which
Mm,
I mean, I took the best swing I could at it, and I hope that it comes across great. But that one really stressed me out because again, I had no video experience at all, and then the full write up and all of that on the game, you really wanted to make sure it was as clear as possible, but not just being too wordy or not enough visuals, and just coherent. So All of that to make it visually appealing, and then get everything out there, but keep it as condensed as possible. I spent a lot of time at that, just trying to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think a good place to start is like you mentioned at the beginning, looking at other successful pages and seeing what they did and kind of trying to use that as a guide for your own stuff.
For
Uh,
sure, and things that attracted you about the page,
right.
because successful pages usually have uh, great content, but there's still some things that could have improved as well. So finding what you liked about it and trying to incorporate it in usually is a good place to start.
Cool. And so you talked a little bit about the video. So what did you what was your thought process around the video? What kind of information did you put in it? What was your goal for that? And I'm assuming this is a video that's at the very top of the page that someone could click at, the kind of the first thing they see when they see the Kickstarter page.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Most of those are incorporated now under the main image as soon as you go in for most projects. So they just have the little play symbol. But yeah, what I wanted to do is do a little personal shoot where I just set up the video, and then at the end talk about the video. I always like that one-on-one that I seen on other Kickstarter pages, so I did that. And then for the body of the video, I did a little bit of a hype up and kind of story mode, and then a small, very brief kind of discussion of how the game works. And I used a lot of the graphics from the game in order to do that. So yeah, that was my process of just a little bit of personal interaction, and then the body of to kind of hype you up.
Cool. I love how it's a very homemade, kind of process there, and also keeping it personal. It's you, it's the designer who's talking through everything and showing everybody what the game is. And I think more designers should be doing that. Should involve themselves. I see a lot of these videos where they hire like a professional voiceover artist, and they have all these animations and stuff, and then you never actually see the person who made the game, and you're not able to make that personal connection. And so, anytime you can do that, I think it's very cool.
Yeah, and I I kind of did my own voiceover for
Nice.
the body of the thing. So anybody that knows me, I'll have a little chuckle at how I was trying to throw my voice this way or that to make it sound different than I normally sound. But yeah,
Love it.
I exactly.
Another kind of big part of Kickstarter pages are the reviews and the preview kind of videos from third party, um, you know, uh, content creators. Were you able to do any of that? And kind of what was your approach with that? Um, how many prototypes did you get created and send out, if any, to these folks? And talk about that process.
So this is an area where we actually did really well. Um, we had, I think we posted up 6 reviews maybe on the Kickstarter page. I'm trying to
Nice.
think off the top of my head. Um, but we had a lot of positive feedback for this game, which is fantastic and heartening. And we had a lot of great playtesters involved in this game. So finding that positive reviews to post was thankfully very easy. And as for seeking out individuals to do it, everybody that we had on the page, we had connected at some point during our campaign pre-launch, and
Mm,
um, they were able to see the game in like a either a physical play by a prototype, or by a tabletop simulator version. So everybody got a chance to get in on that and see how it all worked. And most of them had a physical prototype, but that really helped, because, of course, anything else is almost just a brief preview of the game. But having reviewers play the full thing out and multiple times, they were able to talk about it in a more concrete way.
right.
Like yourself, having played before, you know exactly what it's all about and where the game shines and that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, and finding other individuals was more so who we were a fan of. So
Hmm.
if for example, I said we're not very big on social media and things, but there's a couple of people on, say, like YouTube or Instagram or things that we were fans of their content. So we reached out to them in that way. But backpedaling a little bit, we had 5 prototypes made physical, and
Okay.
then we had 1 here for local demonstrations, and 4 were shipped out, and then had a little bit of a supply chain to jump around.
Cool. That's great. So it sounds like you leveraged kind of your existing relationships with playtesters or people that you've met in the circles, board game circles, and so you kind of knew folks already before you kind of reached out to them and said, "Hey, you want to cover my game in your channel or whatever." Or maybe they reached out to you like I did, right? And asked if they could cover your game.
Yeah, and most of them, like I said, all, were either at the end of the process or got in at it. Like they weren't, say, pre-existing contacts prior to me starting this game online. But yeah, that kind of shown interest in the project and asked if they could participate, or some people to get their hands on that physical prototype. They were pretty excited. So yeah.
Cool. And then talking about kind of the physical aspect of the game, we're just kind of curious where you got the prototypes made, and is that the same place that you're going to have it manufactured for release, or what was the process of finding the places that could do that for you?
Yeah, so there's a few places that do, small batch runs or prototypes and things, and do very well at it. For example, like the Game Crafter is one that's in North America. But we were trying to maximize our speed at the end of the project and post campaign. So we went and chose a manufacturer first, and then got all of our art files uploaded through them, and then got a manufacturer prototype.
Nice.
That process takes about 6 to 8 weeks, just for like the back and forth art, and then you got to ship it in. So you can it can take several months, which of course is definitely a deterrent for a lot of people that want the physical prototype. But for us, we found it was a good fit, um, because we wanted, after the campaign, to be able to ship out our rewards as quick as possible. And in order to do that, having the manufacturer already on standby was, we think it's going to be a huge help. And our manufacturer was Longpack Games.
Cool. I've heard a lot of good things about Longpack, so I think that's a great choice for the manufacturer. And I like how you. I think it's going to save you time at the back end by using the same manufacturer for your prototype copies, and that way you have all the art with them and everything. And it should be probably a pretty quick process after the campaign is done to then get those get the production copies made and shipped out to folks.
Yeah, we think that it's going to be probably a couple of months just getting our rule book edits and things in, that we've taken on a lot of notes from our play tests. And then
Sure.
there's going to be some additional content for the deluxe pledge, which that art isn't completed. But after that, that's pretty much all we had left, because we have everything else done. So
Nice.
yeah, we think that span of a few months we'll be able to start getting the production copies ready.
Cool. So another quick question around the cost of the game, and how you kind of come up with how much you're going to sell it for. So what kind of went into the decision of what the pledge levels were going to be like, and how much you're eventually going to sell the game for?
So we kept it pretty simple here. We got a print and play that we are going to be putting out, and we're going to do a low art and a full art, for people's preference there. We're doing the base game, and then we're doing a deluxe pledge. And the difference between the base and the deluxe pledge will be the mini expansion that's going to be included. So it'll have 2 new card types that aren't in the base game, and it'll also have 2 exclusive nobles that are not going to be in the base game. But all of the reward tier levels will have access to the stretch goals. So if any additional content comes from that, they will all share in that reward.
Nice. I like that. I like the idea of keeping it simple, especially for your first project. Reduce the amount of crazy things that can happen or go wrong, and make the decision for backers very simple too, because one of the things that I is kind of a pet peeve of mine is when I show up on a Kickstarter page and there's like 12 pledge levels, and I have to sift through all of these different options to figure out, what I would want, when I just want the best experience. Give me the best version of the game. And so for you to have, the game, and then the deluxe, and I do like the idea of a deluxe level, because then if someone wants to support it more, or has played it in playtesting, isn't a huge fan, and wants those extra that extra stuff, that you give them that option, and give kind of super fans a way to be a super fan, and support you as a super fan. I like that.
Of course, and the pricing aspect, we tried to do it really as possibly cost effective as we could, because we didn't. Of course, we were going to be very excited for people to join along with us, but one of the things was, like, shipping is always such an issue. So we spent pretty much all of 2021 haggling with fulfillment places and shipping companies to try to get the best kind of quotes that we could. And then anything else we're hoping to kind of tie into the cost that we already made, and just absorb it ourselves. So everything is pretty tight margin, but we made it so it could be as accessible as possible to more people.
Awesome, love it. So let's talk numbers. If you don't mind, kind of giving us a rundown of how many folks you have following the Kickstarter page, and kind of what your numbers look like on social media, so we can get an idea of the platform you're starting from before you launch the Kickstarter.
Sure. So we got a pretty close knit community. It's small in numbers, but big in quality for sure.
Love it.
Um, I already discussed there, all of our social media is pretty much new, but we got about, say, between 150 and 300 on each platform. Most of them are the same people, because
Yep.
they've been following the whole process. So they're a lot of really excited people, which hopefully spread the word and get more people involved. So the funding goal we made was also really low and realistic. We're going for 8,000 Canadian, which is
Mm,
about 6,400, I think, US. Um, there was some confusion there. Most of our stuff has to be in Canadian based on our geographical location. That's
right.
something
Yep.
Kickstarter has done that I don't love, but
All right.
so we put everything in like brackets so everybody knows what it is
Nice.
for that.
Good idea.
So for that there, I think that where we need about 190 backers in order to make the project viable there. I think that we set a pretty realistic goal for that, and the amount of people we already have involved should be able to translate over and make that a reality for us.
That's great. Yeah. Looks like you have looking at your pre-launch page now, it looks like you have about 230 followers on your Kickstarter page itself. So if most of those convert, then you're there already, and so that's great that you have set your goal within kind of the realm of who you have that's interested in the project, and that sounds like a good balance to me.
Yeah, that's definitely the hope.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any kind of like email list or anything like that you have built beforehand?
Yeah, so I don't have emails on those already followers, but I had email lists that we had built up from other giveaways and a few Facebook ads. So we got,
Cool.
again, about 200 or 300 of those, but they're not to do with the other followers at all. That was just from ad campaigns and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
So that would be on top of that, but we're I don't have a huge amount of expectation out of that, where
Right.
I don't have any personal interaction with any of those people, where most of the other followers had lots of time to interact and ask questions or play test the game and
Right.
see the art and stuff. So I feel like that is a an easier crowd to estimate than a complete unknown email, right?
Yep, that makes sense. But also every little bit helps, right? And so you've got this separate kind of email list that who have shown interest in some form or another in what you're doing. So and that's kind of separate from the folks who you've built relationships with over the course of the game. And I think it's smart to kind of do both, right? To not rely on one or the other, to have, and it sounds like you've done this, have kind of a broad array of different types of followers from different platforms and different encounters and stuff like that. And so So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I'll definitely be curious after the campaign is over to see how those different platforms converted for you.
Yeah, and a lot of people too, and other designers, um, they've had a broader email list, and I guess they could have more aggressive goals. Every little bit definitely counts, and that's an area again I could have improved on. But we had a really tight budget for the promotion that we wanted to do. We put
Right.
pretty much all of it into the game itself. So that's one of those things in hindsight I should have probably allotted some more into. So I'm also interested in how both of those categories convert.
And then just a final couple questions. Number one, have you chosen a pledge manager? What's your approach to that part of the process?
I have reached out to all of the main ones.
Okay.
Kickstarter, of course, has its own, but then there's the original pledge manager, backer kit, and GameFound. So we've reached out to all of them, and I'm kind of on the pros and cons of each.
Hmm.
I haven't solidified one yet, but it might be backer kit or the original pledge manager. GameFound, I think, is something I'd want to do, but it has a lot of edit yourself components, and I don't think I'll have the time for that. Um, as much as I do like the platform and where it's headed. And the Kickstarter itself, I don't have the ability to charge shipping and things after, and they don't give that real end survey the same. So that'll pretty much be out of
Understand.
the equation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So cool. That'll be. I'm just making a note to ask that as a follow-up question for after interview to see which one you ended up going with and how your experience was with them.
Sure.
Final question. What would success mean to you with this campaign?
Really, to me, all I'm hoping is to be able to share this product with, a larger audience that, besides the really supportive group that I've already added up. But to me, even base funding is a success. I feel successful so far to have met and interacted with so many fantastic people that I think it's already a positive experience, whether it funds or not. But funding, even minimum goal, would be a success for me, and I think kind of justify the amount of time and effort that we put into this to get it to this point. I would feel certainly happy with that, and anything above it, of course, is just extra, right? And that's just how I'm going into it. I think it's already been a win for me, so
Nice.
I think its success is already made.
Awesome. Well, great, man. Sounds good. The game's great. Sounds like you've put a lot of work and heart and soul into this. So I wish you nothing but success, and I look forward to our second interview to kind of dig into what worked and what didn't, lessons learned, and all of that stuff. So look forward to having you back.
Perfect. Yeah, I can't wait for another chat there. It was a great time, and I of course had a fantastic time when we had a playtest there the other evening. So, yeah, I'll certainly be happy to share all of the what I call meat and potatoes of it after to
Right.
see the inner workings and some behind the scene.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Brad. And thank you guys for tuning in today. If you want to see where Brad ends up on his journey and hear about the lessons he's learned, make sure you subscribe to this channel by clicking that bell icon so that you can be notified when future episodes come out, especially the follow-up episode to this one. Also, be sure to like this video if you liked what you heard. Leave a comment if you have any follow-up questions for Brad that I didn't get a chance to ask in this interview. And I'll see you on the next episode of KickSaga. Bye for now.